United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chance to look at the minutes and agenda.
If fine to me, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion from Stenzer, second from Derby to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
9 a.m. Jan Libby, Healthy Harvest to discuss funding request.
She's going to call in, hopefully.
Okay.
We're here in support of that.
All right. Now, I was going to say, I didn't think any of you looked like her. So.
Do we need to call her or anything?
I'm not sure.
No,
I never
Said
said.
she'd call her.
she said she's going to call it.
She's on the phone.
Okay, all right.
That's why I was. Hello?
Good morning, it's Jan Libby here with Healthy Harvest of North Iowa.
Hi, Jan. This is Terry Derby, and Bill and Mike are here, and we've got Kathy and Norma are here in support too, and a few other people. So.
All right, y'all skated in this morning. Good for you. How are your roads?
Yeah. Better.
Okay, I will jump right in. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you all for your time this morning. Good morning, Bill and Mike and Kathy and Norma and Carla. I assume you're in the room as well.
Yes.
I want to spend a little time reviewing what has transpired since this past year that I spoke with you in some background to my request of funding in your 2017 to 18 fiscal year. I will just recap that what I have asked for is the same level as in 2016. The Healthy Harvest budget has been expanding. We are projecting a budget of a little over $100,000 for 2017 ourselves. So my request of the Winnebago Supervisors at $3,180 is a small piece, but a very important piece of that budget. I have had support from 5 additional counties, boards of supervisors, and I am extending a request for continued support from each of those. At the same time, we obviously are expanding our funding base constantly because this work has such great opportunity and potential in our communities. So we have started a member program ourselves. We are reaching out to other sponsors, and we continue to seek grants. So I wanted to give that background so you have a little bit of context for how your contribution fits in this. But your contribution is really important because it ties so closely to our community-based foundation and the way we approach our work. And in 2016, excuse me, we really honed that approach and grew the scope of the work. So when we hosted a series of community meetings last year, one of those was held in Forest City, and this series of community meetings was really to reach out to folks at the community base and say, these are the kinds of things that are going on around local food system work, and let's have you an opportunity to give us some input as to where your priorities are and what some of your vision is. And in Forest City, we had a nice attendance, probably one of the larger attendance at those meetings. We had 16, a really good conversation with the folks that were there, a good spirit. We had representation from Forest City Economic Development, from the Chamber, and from Girl Forest City, so it was an excellent team coming together around this. At those meetings, and they were held all over North Iowa last, kind of like February through March, we were really trying to identify local priorities and then carry some of that vision of the local priorities as the North Iowa Local Food Coalition was identifying regional priorities. So let me try to tie both of those pieces together. The farmers market surfaced very quickly and pretty significantly in Forest City as a local priority, and we'll talk about that, how that has sort of moved through our work of this last year. And then likewise, we heard farmers market priorities surfacing in several other communities. So we were not only addressing the Forest City Farmers Market, but we were present working with the North Iowa Farmers Market in Mesa City and the market in Hampton. Those were the three communities that we put the most time into in this past year. And as that priority surfaced in those community meetings, then the coalition, which met, it has been a group of regional partners trying to really bring a nice, broad segment of the population into discussion about local food. They met last May to sort of sift through those community meetings and identified 5 priority projects, of which farmers market support was one of them. So what we heard at the local level has carried through to that coalition level, and we continue to provide technical assistance directly at the community level, and then have been able to bring some new support to farmers markets on a regional level in the form of a new grant that will be working through this winter. We'll be involving some focus groups, workshop, and designing a pilot project for some sort of market-to-market cooperation through this summer. So that will continue to see us providing assistance to farmers markets. In Forest City specifically, following that community meeting and in line with that identified priority, I came back and met with Kathy and Norma, and we brought in some of the folks from the Forest City Farmers Market and really tried to wrap our heads around where that farmers market was going, where those opportunities were, and what the logical steps were that would help that move forward. We had some conversation with the Waldorf Wellness Coalition. We had staff come up and be present during that farmers market at one of the downtown trials this past summer, and then we'll back up this late fall doing some planning for 2017. And I may just want to stop right there and give Kathy or Norma a chance to sort of give you how that has played out from their perspective and some of those opportunities that they see unfolding from that work.
Yeah, we met with Jan, and she quickly helped us kind of organize what our issues were here locally in regards to farmers market. We had this idea that we thought the better place for a farmers market might be downtown, but we weren't really sure. Jan has helped us really work with the vendors, work with the market, identify some real significant things that we can do to improve the farmers market. And it falls right in line with what Kathy and I do as our mission for our jobs, is to improve quality of life for our residents in Forest City. And you might think farmers market, improving quality of life, it's a win-win for everyone. Definitely a priority for us to improve that, to kind of spread the wellness aspect to our community members. Our goal is to work well with the farmers market. We have a tight-knit group there that kind of controls all of that, and Jan has been just instrumental and with the communication there, and actually laying out plans going forward for Forest City. Kathy and I feel pretty confident that we've got a strong direction to go in the future. We can get the farmers market. It's our goal to get the farmers market downtown, right out front here. Expanding opportunities around the market. You probably noticed last year we had a couple of markets right out the doorway here. All of them were very, very successful. We had more vendors, they had more sales at each farmers market that was downtown. So we have a pretty clear direction for the future. Another area that Jan has just been fabulous in is outlining for me the possibilities in working with NIACOG and a $10,000 grant that was given to the city, was that how can we use that money for a nutrition area? And identifying some opportunities there helped us to get that grant, receive that grant. So without kind of her help in the background, I don't know that we would have made so much progress. And we look forward to working with her again this upcoming year.
So as I see it, probably one of the priorities for Healthy Harvest is working with Forest City right now, but all this information can be passed on to our other towns in our county too, once we've developed a good working plan there.
Yeah, and that's kind of critical because she's brought to the table what other communities our size have done, how they've solved our similar problems, things like that, that we just did not have that connection or knowledge. So as she works on that big grant that she alluded to earlier, that'll help all of the markets, Forest City as well as surrounding areas.
Did I hear you correctly? You got a $10,000 grant from NICOG?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that was the city of Forest City got that.
The city of Forest City received that.
Right.
$2,000 will go towards a nutritional related activity. Will actually go towards food demonstrations as part of Farmers Market next year.
So that was earmarked at the city level?
Correct.
What was the source of revenue for that one?
That was I'd have to check.
I don't know what the source of revenue
It
on
came
that
through
one was.
NIACOG.
Which, for the NIACOG?
Yeah,
No, I'm not sure, but they've been, they've been providing these grants over the last couple of years. I was involved in conversation with the Belmont community when they received theirs, but I don't really have a whole lot of background on it.
I didn't know if it was through USDA or,
From the state level. I know it comes from the state level, but I don't recall exactly.
I would guess USDA would have some involvement in that. Interesting.
Right, so I can barely hear Norma. I don't want to cut her off, but let me know when you're ready for me to
Well,
start
I
that.
think she's pretty much covered her aspect of it and what we're doing in Forest City here.
Yeah, well, I think that, that helps to sort of lay that picture there, and I think, Terry, as you were talking about, these are initiatives that sort of evolved in terms of really getting some traction and getting partners engaged, and then looking for those opportunities for those best practices to even expand into some other communities. So this new grant, which is from the Leopold Center, that will be providing us regional focused work on farmers markets this winter, will be involving community members and focus groups, and then we will be holding a workshop. And while we'll probably be mostly pulling from the farmers market teams that we've been working most closely with in developing the focus groups and in developing that workshop, as we promote that workshop, we will be certainly spreading that around to all of the farmers markets in our communities, and so that would extend into the other farmers markets in Winnebago County and help to sort of expand that reach and that impact, to really talk to the folks in Lake Knowles that have been working on that one. Additionally, Healthy Harvest has continued to provide some marketing resources. We have at least 3 Winnebago County producers that are listed in our local food guide, and we have both the Forest City and Lake Knowles Farmers Market listed in our guide. And again, that is a printed publication that is distributed to chambers and extension offices, public libraries, courthouses, but even more so, it's available as an online database that's available 24/7. I think in terms of looking at, what is the growing impact of some of this work, I think Norma was describing the expanded number of vendors who were attracted when the market was moved downtown, and I think that's just sort of the front edge of the impact that work has the potential to make. In Hampton, we've been helping them with some farm to fork dinners over the last couple of years, and this year we incorporated their school's culinary arts program so that their students were involved in some of the preparation for that dinner. They did some in-class recipe testing that the restaurants were going to then use that particular recipe. The students got involved in recording radio spots and helping with some of the marketing and PR, and then they put on their chef's coats and they helped with the food preparation and the serving. the night of the dinner. So that was an excellent opportunity to involve the students from the classroom into some real world application of the lessons they've been getting in the classroom, really promote them in the leadership role that they played in the community. The other, that's good enough by itself, I think, but one of the restaurants was impressed enough that they hired one of those students as a cook. So I think that's a real feather in their cap. The other story I would share is the North Iowa Local Food Coalition. As I have mentioned, they were identifying these 5 priorities, one of which was farmers market. Another one has really captured a lot of attention in that group around supply chain management. And that comes in part from a group of producers who put together a business called North Iowa Fresh. And North Iowa Fresh is about 8 or 9 producers who are pooling their products and marketing into grocery stores and restaurants. So that's a little background. This year they did start to provide some product into Bill's Grocery, both in Garner and in Forest City. So they've sort of expanded that presence. But they are pooling their products together, Opportunity Village in Clear Lake. And as part of this supply chain and seeing some of these pieces come together, Opportunity Village has looked at their kitchen and cooler resources and some of the ground they have for production as some excellent infrastructure elements toward expanding their involvement in the local food world because they see opportunities for their clients in terms of employment. So they were able to secure a grant that will be doing a feasibility study around small batch light process. So I think that is a couple of examples that sort of lays out not only are we honing our community-based foundation and building these relationships with partners, such as we have been doing around the Forest City Farmers Market and continuing to provide new resources and support for farmers markets, but there are these other layers of the work that we are doing and expanding partnerships around the economic opportunities with local food systems in our community.
And if there was any other communities that would be interested in starting a farmers market, I'm sure you would be willing to help them also.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Part of our Leopold project has us the opportunity to partner with another team in Iowa that is working on I think it's a 2 or a 3-year farmers market toolkit project. And so they will be really developing quite a bit of great resources for farmers markets, and they will be involved with our workshop this probably early mid-March. So we're not only talking about the work that will impact our local farmers markets, but we are involved in conversation with folks who are looking at farmers market support across the state in that particular instance, and just local food initiatives across the state. I was at a statewide conference on Friday in which many of the other groups that are doing coalition work like we are doing were there to showcase the work that is taking place there. So lots of great opportunities, and Terry, I thought of you because there was a fellow there, Major Philip Turner, on behalf of the Veterans in Agriculture. And so I asked him what he knew about FAVA, and we're going to see what we can find out a little bit more about any veterans in our communities that are interested in agriculture. This North Iowa Fresh group is looking for expanded production base, and maybe there are some opportunities for some new folks to engage in that level as well.
Sure.
All right, so that sort of wraps up my highlighted points, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Do you guys charge sales tax, or do they charge at the markets?
Well, I mean, if you are selling food, you do not have to charge sales tax. I mean, the producers of the farmers market are bound by any other state rules and regulations that any other retailer would be. If they are selling plants, they're supposed to be selling, if it's not edible, they're supposed to be selling, charging sales tax. But for fresh food, whole foods, no, they don't need to.
Yeah, that, I should qualify that, because I've seen a lot more than just food being sold at some of these.
Well, I know that there are more than just fresh whole food items sold at some of these farmers markets, but I'm just relaying
Right.
what the regulations say.
Well, I guess I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
All right, well, thank you for the information, Jan. We'll,
Thank you very much for your support. It really has done a tremendous lot to give us the base that we have today, and I look forward to continuing to build on that base in partnership with the good folks of Winnebago County.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? So the ones you did out here, were they just like special ones then, or they moved it from out there to here, or?
They were, Kathy, how many were downtown?
That was actually our compromise to let them know what they could do if they were downtown. So I chose 3 dates last year.
The same people that are out at Shopko?
Yes, because the impetus is that we don't want them out of Shopko because to me, it's kind of an afterthought and they don't have a lot of marketers out there, but when they came uptown here, they had more marketers and all of the vendors agreed that they did much better sales on the days that they were
So
uptown
it's
here.
more their decision where they
Yeah, and the market manager needs to be convinced as well.
Because the picture is better.
Yes, yeah, because,
Accidentally driving by them there, you're just getting the ones going to Shopko, unless you knew about them, I guess.
And Jan has just been so wonderful in helping us, Kathy and I, especially this past year, saying, be patient. Let's propose this worked in another community, and just kind of guiding the process. Instead of being at odds with the market, she's really helped guide us in that, hey, we're all in this together.
that networking with all the other groups is what makes that work.
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of fun to have a farm to fork in this area somewhere.
Absolutely,
We've got
yeah.
a facility out at Harrison Park or the
Yes.
fairgrounds or whatever.
We've actually talked about that, and it's kind of in the planning stages, but we are definitely, the priority is to get the market downtown and expand those possibilities first, so, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for the info.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to number 3 then, Adam Sauer to discuss the courthouse at Tuck Community Projects.
Yeah, I briefly spoke to Kevin here last week. Scott Hampton, Court Administration, had called me probably two and a half weeks ago and asked me what my plan was for court. I didn't really know what he was talking about. He informed me that the tuck pointing up here sounds like it's going to be pretty close to the courtroom this summer, spring and summer. He had some concerns with regards to when we have court dates, trial dates, and the noise. And asked me if I had a plan. I didn't even know it was happening, so I told him I had no idea, and that I would talk to Kevin and you guys to figure out what we could. I mean, the concern from Scott is we can't have court up there. We can't have jury trials if it's so loud that we can't hear. And so, I mean, to me, I think there's probably 2 options. We either they have to work around our court schedule, or we have to potentially look at a different place to have court, at least.
For jury trial.
Well, I mean, even for court dates, if we're in court and, the court reporter's trying to listen and take down stuff, jury trials obviously is one thing, but, just for example, last Friday, we had court from 9 o'clock till 3, and, it wasn't juries, but we were making records, and, one of those things where if it was so loud up there we couldn't hear, we would have to figure out a different plan. So when I talked to Kevin, I guess from the sounds of it, I don't really know if Kevin has a good idea as to exactly when this is all happening, so it makes it a little bit difficult to plan without
He kind of wanted to start this spring, didn't he, to get?
I talked to Dave, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and what he told me is they would be back in February. Okay, what that means, I said, first, he says, kind of smiled, he says, well, February. So I'm thinking it's gonna be to the middle of, to the end. But once they start, they're gonna be here until they're back to this corner, which is gonna be midsummer, probably, and that's in a perfect world. Part of the deal is we're gonna be renting scaffolding, and when that's up, we've gotta go, assuming we don't run out of cut stone again. And Dave is working to make sure that doesn't happen. We've gotta go if we're gonna get this project done. We can't be starting and stopping, and I can't have guys standing out here because they need to hammer drill something and they can't, you know. So that's why I've been talking to the clerk of court and Adam and just saying that when it starts, if there was a scheduled something, if it's quiet, fine, but if it's not, we're gonna have to keep going, and that's what Adam and I talked, that at that point, we're gonna have to probably rent a lecture hall, maybe something across the street there. I don't know at this point. When I know when Randall's coming back, when the setting will take place and all that, we'll have a better idea how to plan, because they'll have their schedule set out, and we can kind of look. But it isn't going to take much noise to disturb them, I know that, because when my HVAC guys were doing the first phase of the controller install, I had about a 3-minute vacuum job because ceiling tile crumbles were everywhere, and I wanted to vacuum them up. About a minute and a half into my 3 minutes, Davis came across, the judge isn't happy, it's too loud, stop it. Okay, put the vacuum away, and that's easy. But when we're out here trying to cut out stone and stuff, we've got to keep going. So we're trying to get ahead of the problem. Is what
Too bad our LEC isn't done yet.
I mean,
Nice room out there to do it.
I mean, it's, unfortunately, it's not like it's just like we have court, a couple hours a week. It's more than that. So, I mean, every Monday morning, Magistrate Casperson's up there, and whether I have court with him or not, he's having appearances. So you've got Monday mornings, almost every Monday morning, at least, generally 8:30 to noon, he's here. And then you've got every other Tuesday and every other Friday, and then jury trials are Wednesday. The jury trials will be the least of my concern because we just don't have those very often. But we do have court, so, and it's not, I don't think it's one of those things where we just wait until Thursday at 4 o'clock and figure out, well, they're going to be quiet on Friday, so we're good, and if they're not, then we're going to go somewhere else. Well, where's that going to be? I don't think we can do that last minute for security reasons, and people need to know where they're going. So, I don't know how we plan this. When I asked Scott about, like, if this is happening in other counties, the only example he had was Mitchell County, when they all got kicked out of the courthouse, and they rented a community center and had court in there, and he said it was not good, but they made it work. They put up some tables and security. Well, I mean, for jury trials, it was obviously very, very challenging, but, otherwise, I talked to Scott about, for jury trials, could we go to Hancock County or Worth County and actually use their courthouse? I suppose you could, but then you're paying, we're going to be paying more mileage and stuff like that. But that's a possibility, I think. But I don't think we want to do that for court days.
Can you use is that not savings banks?
I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone because I just didn't. I want to bring it to your guys' attention to figure out what you're.
And they're already set schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know what they got scheduled. Scott had said at one point in time he thought they may have used Waldorf for something years ago when there was something going on here. He didn't know.
I couldn't tell you.
I kind of cringe at using Waldorf just because they have class and we're going to have judges and defendants walking through. I don't know if that's a great idea, but I don't know if they have a room.
Where there's not a lot of traffic.
And I don't know that.
The other possibility I thought about was the senior center. It's a large building, open floor plan, but they have meals in there every day. If there was some way to divide it off and use one part of it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that could be a,
Is that room for where we met for the ITC, that's
So-
where were you? I didn't go. Was that,
Allison Hall.
oh, right across the street in that little ballroom there?
Yeah.
Problem is, they do a lot of like, every Rotary is Tuesday, you know, so I have not, I mean, my thought is I'll call Scott at court administration back and let him know kind of what the plan is and maybe see if he wants to.
Well, ask him what he would like us to try to find.
Well, I would make a point that we think that we need to get going on our construction. We have,
Oh, yeah.
it's real expensive without putting him up. I mean, we've got to move it.
And I don't think,
The boardroom over at in the Cooper building, for the school board room.
I've never been in there, so I wouldn't know
I
what.
think that's a big room that,
But going through their office to get there is kind of,
Yeah. I mean, it's
I would
gotta,
start with asking him what he
Yeah.
wants, and then we can do our best to try to find it.
because I mean, you know, obviously we'll have some security
are they doing?
concerns. I mean, when we got a defendant who's in custody, you know, coming over for court, we don't want them walking through the alternative school
What about
or,
I suppose the civic center's too big.
yeah, I don't,
It's underutilized. I mean, I don't know that
It's one of the big industries, man.
they've got the River Oaks. That's a
So-
smaller building. That's a possibility. It's in another county, but it's close.
I would think that court administration would probably want something that would be like not used for other things, just because of security and concerns with.
If it's something like that, I would say the bank's probably not good.
I don't know if the bank would want somebody in
No.
shackles walking in. I mean,
It's a basic entry.
I think the bank would say, yeah, that's not what we
I guess
want
my
our
thoughts
Well,
are,
is there anything in
Clientele.
Buffalo Center?
Well, you got.
Doesn't have to be in Buffalo City, does it?
The Heritage Center.
I don't think there's no rule. I mean, there's really no precedent here, Mike. I think court administration is gonna say if we can't use the courtroom, then you guys have to find us another place to have court. So I think we just need to probably explore some options and think about places that may not be used and,
You ever see Walking Tall?
no.
Movie? I know where we can put court.
Remember, I gotta go there too.
You have a big state.
So,
well, okay, what about an empty building on Main Street? Can we rent a building on Main Street for so many months and just have court there?
And do we have to be handicap accessible? I suppose? For a short term?
yeah.
I would think the front door on any of those would be handicap accessible.
I mean,
Short term,
if
you'll
it's,
get away with it.
I mean, if it's something where it's gonna be, that bad, it's probably something we need to think about. And then setting up an actual permanent place for those few months rather than, because if it's every day, I mean, if it's every day they're gonna be doing that, then I would say that's better than trying to, well, this week we'll go here and next week we'll go here and we're all over the place.
We'd
And
be better off finding something we can rent.
if it's gonna be one of those where it's every day, I mean, if they can't work around some of the court stuff, then yes, because we have too many court days to.
I don't know what the theater is down here, but Lake Mills Theater would work, I think, perfect for it. It's got a raised stage, for the judge. And it has plenty of room for you guys in front of the seats and, something like that. And maybe Four City.
Like I said,
in
In Mitchell County, they took the community center over there and put some tables and chairs and made it work. So I think anything, I don't think they're gonna be picky, but I know they're not gonna wanna be interrupted with.
My suggestion is ask Scott,
Okay.
and we'll do our best to try to find somebody who wants.
Okay.
The Heritage Center in Buffalo has also got things like for wedding parties to be up on a platform too.
The stage or something.
Yeah.
Cause you're thinking end of February to June?
Well, yeah, at least.
And is that no matter what part of the building you're on, is it gonna be noise to the courthouse or courtroom?
We're gonna be working that south face and then the east face over to that corner, excluding the entry, so, and then all the way up.
Right,
So it's only gonna get louder as the summer wears on because of
right.
going.
But we'll be done with the LAC, you know.
Yeah, depending when we get in there, that could solve our
And if
problem.
you started away from the courthouse, right,
Yeah,
the courtroom,
yeah.
that might solve the problem there
Is
too.
there rooms there, a couple bigger rooms there, like a training room, right?
Training room that we could use.
Big enough, I mean, big enough, you think?
Probably not for a jury trial.
Not for jury trial. Jury trials, I think we're just gonna have to go to a different county. I just don't know how that's supposed to work. I mean, you get 40, 50 people there in the morning till you get your jury pick.
Yeah, you have a
That's,
place for them to go and
yeah,
deliberate and.
yeah, that's, I think we might have to just look at Hancock County or Worth County or something for that, if we have one. And we don't know if we'll have one.
You guys don't have an extra meeting room out to your place, do you?
Well, there's my spacious office, you know, you can always use that one. I would suggest the old bar across the street, that you'll get your jurors to get there all the time.
Still got some inventory in there?
Oh, probably, you never know.
Attorney's bar in court.
Exactly.
So, okay, I guess I'll report back to Scott, because when Scott called, I honestly didn't know really much about it. I wasn't kind of up to date, so I'll let Scott know, see if he has any thoughts or things that they would want. And I'll probably even talk to Judge Salick, she's here most of the court days anyway, and see, I guess, if she has a preference. And report back, I guess.
And we'll have a little bit of lead time too. I'll maybe even give Dave a call today and see how their schedule's progressing and stone and all that
Because
stuff.
we're gonna lock up some space. I mean, if we think we're gonna be open by the end of April or something, and we can
Keeps
use
telling
that.
me April.
You never wanna start scheduling too soon. I would say the 1st of May would be the soonest you'd wanna maybe schedule something.
There's a lot of contractors, when they say February, you might have to be in March anyways.
Well,
Okay,
that's
I'll report
starting.
back.
Okay. Move on to closed session to discuss purchase of building for public health. I've probably got one that's highlighted in the bag.
That's right.
Our next item is to discuss purchase of the building for public health. It is my understanding that the Board of Supervisors request that the matter proceed in closed session. The purchase of replacement building for public health is necessary in closed session because premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the county would have to pay for the building. I move that the discussion on the purchase of building for public health shall be made in closed session where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the county would have to pay for the building.
I'll second the motion.
You get to do a roll call for these, right, Carla?
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion from Jensvold and a second from Derby to move into closed session to discuss the public health building. All in favor, say
Nope, okay,
Yeah.
Jensvold,
aye.
Derby,
Aye.
Stensers.
Aye. It has been moved to hold a closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 21.5 1J, and members of the board have voted unanimously to hold the closed session. I ask that all persons other than supervisors, county attorney, and county auditor leave the room until we come into open session again.
Now, Ruth can stay, can't she?
Yeah, Ruth can stay. I didn't know she'd be here, so we didn't put her on there.
Okay, well, I gotta shut off all my stuff here.
Yeah, you need to do a separate, right?
Are there gonna be IT questions on this, or is this different?